Hey everyone, it's Damien, aka Sleepy Reader. This is yet another comic book thoughts video of all thoughts on all the brand new comics I bought this Wednesday. Today's Thursday. I've already read them all already. There were only 6 of them, and I happen to have more free time than usual, so I got to sit down and read them all. A little bit here, a little bit there over lunch, sitting in the backyard. And I decided on a whim to sort of film myself whenever I had a thought that I wanted to express about the comic, turn on the camera for a minute, say a few things, turn it back off. And I haven't decided, all of these comics were fun to read. I haven't decided on their ranking yet, but I will put the numbers in as I put the different clips in so that you know the ranking 6 through 1. What was the one I enjoyed the least, which I still enjoyed a lot, so to the one I enjoyed absolutely the most, and I have to figure that out. So I'm going to compile that list and edit it all together, and we'll see what we come up with, what I come up with, that is. It's all selfish, subjective stuff, not for you, it's for me. I'm starting in on MODOK. Seems like there was kind of a gap between issue 3 and this is issue 4, which I believe is the final issue. And it's written by someone named Jordan Blum, and Patton Oswalt, the well-known comic and actor who I like quite a bit, and who's done a good job on a few other comics. And art by Scott Hepburn, colors by Carlos Lopez. So I'm kind of looking forward to diving. For some reason, I love these 2 panels here. This is right at the beginning of the comic, where MODOK's meeting his father. On first glance, I feel a little overwhelmed by this double-page spread, although it kind of looks cool also. Even the baby's an evil Hydra agent. By the way, I ended up actually liking this page that confused me at first. Once I read it, I thought it was really cool. Patton Oswalt and Jordan Blum did a good job of pulling things together for this final issue for just a 4-issue miniseries. It leaves me kind of hoping there'll be another MODOK miniseries. I love the wackier villains, and although it got a little too wacky for me in the 3rd issue, I may go back and read the whole thing, but it nicely delves into MODOK and who and what he is and gives us some crazy MODOK moments, and sets him up as a bigger, badder, tougher villain than ever for future Marvel adventures. So I don't read a lot of Marvel comics right now, but this gives me more reason to sort of become Marvel curious, so to speak. I'm definitely Patton Oswalt curious because I really liked the comic book he wrote in the Black Hammer miniseries. So he seems to be one of those few celebrities who actually is a good comic book writer. The one thing is the art. I had just read Berserker, and the art and color in MODOK seemed almost, semi-professional compared to the work in Berserker. And I guess that's the people in Berserker are, peak creators, and these are workman-like creators. But when you compare the two, when you have one after the other, it's a bit jarring. I love this panel. I'm looking at Berserker. I'm reading it while I eat lunch. Love this panel here. It's also great how maybe it's an obvious thing to do, but I just thought it's really great how the reddish-orange sky color comes along when the battle happens. And it just looks really nice with these purple mountains and all the other colors. Anyway, great art team on this book, and I'm enjoying this issue so far. It's definitely still a very familiar tale, but it does have a little bit of a different twist. And now it's getting very bloody right before my eyes. I've got at least 2 pages now of extremely bloody violence. Yay. So yeah, I enjoyed this issue quite a bit. It's a really quick read, and it's developing more of an interesting variation on the kind of Eternal Warrior type of story. There were just these 2 pages of incredible bloody fighting. I mean, there were some other bloody scenes where he's fighting animals. The thing that gets me most about these is I just don't believe them. I guess it's kind of spectacular when this boy in Stone Age times is plunging right through a horse and a rider at the same time. But I don't know. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe in that happening as a way to defeat your enemies, particularly back then, without any sharp weapons or anything. But there you go. He's punching through things. He's ripping things in half. The other question is probably there were no horse riders back then, but that's being really picky. And the problem of this tribe is that they were on such fertile land that the other tribes were always ganging up and attacking them, which is interesting because I've read that the reason early civilizations flourished, especially I've been reading about Egypt in particular, but it's because they were in these fertile river valleys. They had a lot of extra food, so they could afford to have some people who were professional fighters, as opposed to everyone being a farmer, and then if you're attacked, the farmers take up their weapons and fight. So, and over time, that's where you get, quote, civilization building up, where you have a standing army and you have the time to build other infrastructure and not just spend all your time farming because you have excess food. But anyway, you could say maybe this berserker guy is kind of the metaphor for a standing army for that early civilization. Anyway, it's fun. I would enjoy more time spent in the early civilization and less in the modern day, but I assume that the coming issues will be more focused on the modern day because, that makes sense. That's what most people want, I think, especially when they make this into a movie. I've moved on to Two Moons, which I have great anticipation for. I started it. I'm a bit surprised to discover they're in Kansas. I guess I didn't pick up on that before. Was the Civil War fought in Kansas at all? I guess my knowledge is a bit skimpy, or maybe they traveled quite a distance between somewhere in issue 2. I'm a little confused on that, but it's really cool. That sense of the landscape is really nice by the artist and colorist. Colorist Bill Crabtree again. The artist is Gian Guardano. Anyway, nice sense of the wide open spaces. And just getting back into the magical, mystical, creepy horror part too. Really cool image panel that I really like a lot. Yeah, that's pretty awesome and disturbing. Kind of evokes a bit of a Cthulhu, not Cthulhu, but Cthulhu mythos kind of hidden evil kind of feeling for me. Intense. And our poor character, I think things are just going to keep getting worse for him. Things are getting worse for our friend. It's hard to imagine a happy ending in that book. Bill, written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson. I'm pretty excited. Colors by Mike Spicer. And I'm pretty excited to jump into it. It is funny, I just read the kind of what happened in the previous issue. After Thor upstaged Bill in defending Asgard from the King in Black, and after a romantic evening with Lady Sif ended abruptly due to Bill's inability to change back to his humanoid form, Bill decided to take to the stars in search of Odin and a new hammer. I did not realize that's what he was searching for in the previous issue, but it also bumps up against regular Thor continuity, where Beta Ray Bill and Odin both just appeared in the last issue of Thor. They were all hanging out together on the Bifrost Bridge, you might say. Well, actually, they addressed that continuity problem with Odin right on the first page. And then the second and third page have this awesome cutaway of Beta Ray Bill's ship. I love it. I do hate that, you read the about the story kind of thing, and then the very next thing is an ad. And it's not like it's an ad that making Marvel money. It's just an ad for a different Marvel book. So they didn't have to place it there. This was a very fun read. Beta Ray Bill moving his quest forward and gathering a group of companions who want to join him on basically a hell ride of a sort. And it feels like Warren Johnson's art is getting rougher here than the first issue, in a sense. I feel like we're traveling further away from the typical Marvel comic. Even the first issue was pretty far away from that anyway, but definitely much more of a rough underground feel. So I'm really happy I'm on this book and had a lot of fun reading it. I'd say my only nitpick is I don't like this font or this whatever decisions were made in the lettering. It's another case of, there was some other book I read last week where all the letters were too close together, and that's definitely part of the problem with this lettering, and perhaps something else about the font. They do occasionally make things bold, and here I think we get lettering actually from Daniel Warren Johnson, but the rest of the lettering, it just is not, it's very generic and just not super readable. So now I'm reading Once and Future. First of all, my eyes just pop out of my head looking at these colors. But I struggle, sometimes love Kieran Gillen and sometimes struggle with him. And I found that this is kind of a good example of where I had to read this kind of 2 or 3 times, this first opening section, to figure out between the drawings and what dialogue and explanation they give us what's going on. They don't mention that everyone is after the Grail, so I didn't focus on this thing. There, I guess, is the Grail in his hands. You can barely tell. And then it's spilling away from him. But when you're looking at these pictures and you're reading this dialogue, I had to read the dialogue between this mom of Galahad. Is it Galahad? This mom of Galahad and Merlin. I had to read that dialogue a couple times because it was so terse. But basically, she's telling Merlin, I'll shoot you and I'll shoot King Arthur if you don't find a way to save Galahad, who's about to possibly be killed by our heroes who are flying around on a dragon. I forget how that happened last issue. And then, so only when going back and being focused finally on the fact that there's the Grail, still kind of spilling blood. It's like spilling blood constantly, I guess. But you have to really know to look for it there. Couldn't Kieran Gillen have said, look there, he's holding the Grail, we got to get it, or something like that, and have him say, oh no, I dropped the Grail, just to focus me. I don't know. I guess I'm too dumb of a reader for him. And then it took me a while to figure out that is Merlin showing up sort of on the scene where they're fighting over the Grail, kind of magically, a magical presence. And as this version of Galahad, who's also a centaur, is reaching for the Grail, that it disappears in mist. And then, but I only realized what happened after the Grail could not stand my presence. It's when I read here that I had to go back and piece it all together. Some of it, maybe you could say, is the artist's fault. The art is so fantastic, and especially the colors, that it's hard for me to blame him. But the art and the words need to work together one way or another. I feel that comics should be easy to read in the sense that you absorb a lot of information quickly, especially in a story like this. It doesn't make me hate this comic. I definitely enjoy reading it a lot. Something really cool here is after the adventure at the beginning of the comic, they find themselves trapped in the, I guess, other realm, the fictional world, and how to get back to their real world because they're missing some candles that would have helped them get back or something like that. But the grandmother figures out that if she gets some cold water into the cauldron that in the story is supposed to be full of boiling water, she changes the facts so they don't match the story, and that causes them to go back into the real world. I thought that was really cool. There may be more sort of cool things because I didn't understand. This is the first time I've fully understood that they go into different versions of the world warped by the fiction of the myths or whatever. I thought all of the stuff. Well, no, I knew there was some kind of other place, but anyway, it's helping me make a bigger picture of all of that. Definitely someday need to go back and just read all of the Once and Future books. This one's number 18, so we're deep into it. Oh man, this is kind of a pivotal issue in the whole Once and Future story. Things have just gone up a huge notch by the end of this story. Everything's different. I loved it. It's weird. I'm enjoying this so much. And oh man, taking more of those just wonderful colors. Tamara Bonvillain particularly excels when she's coloring these otherworld places. But there's just always these spots that I think of them as the Kieran Gillen writing problem. Let me read you something. Sir, you don't understand. This is like nuclear scientists discuss how to communicate warnings for tens of thousands of years. They've designed statues which try to say to stay away. This place is not a place of honor. That is what is here was dangerous and repulsive to us. This is that. You can't open it. I just find his logic sometimes hard to follow. He doesn't like connective tissue enough, you might say. Anyway, but despite that, this was a really awesome issue in a lot of different ways. Well, another great issue of Usagi Yojimbo, Wanderer's Road, the reprint miniseries, and soon they're going to have a new reprint miniseries called here it is, Dragon Below Conspiracy. I don't know who that's a cover preview for the Dragon Below. It's clearly not a cover by Stan Sakai, but I don't know who drew that cover. That's an interesting style. I couldn't find a signature anywhere. Anyway, like Jared Osborne has said, every issue of Usagi is either an A issue or an A+ issue. I guess I'd give this one an A+. It definitely has an earlier, cruder feeling to it, but it's just a very clever story of samurais, ninjas, and swordplay, and tricks within tricks. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. His style is quite a bit simpler here, and maybe there are less of the subtle flourishes in the pacing and stuff that I've seen in some other ones, but I enjoyed it so much. I would give it an A+. This is the last one I've read of the 6. Managed to read them all in one day. Lucky enough to have more free time than usual and less comics. I am not sure yet what order I'm going to put these in, but you probably know. You in the future watching this video, because I'll have let you know with each one how I ranked it. But there's no comic in this mix that would be a bad comic. So kind of B+ to A+ comic books. Okay, there you have it. The 6 books. I put in at number 6, MODOK. Number 5, Berserker, or however you say that without vowels. 2 Moons came in at number 4. Now let's be clear, I mean, especially any of these might have been a number 1 on a given week, but definitely like 2 Moons might have been a number 1. Beta Ray Bill coming in at number 3 might have been in a number 1 at some point, some weeks. Once and Future, definitely. So that came in at number 2, and then Usagi Yojimbo I put at number 1. I keep thinking, no, I'm not going to put Usagi at number 1 again. That's too predictable. But That's just the honest truth of what excited me the most. Oh, I got my got my little my iPad on top of some other books that I got from the store that I'll be probably reading in the next few days, maybe. There is the new Reckless book from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips that came out this Wednesday. Now, Rasa and Comic Crack have in my head the question of whether Phillips' artwork is not as good as it used to be. Is it more rushed? Or has he got a more streamlined style now than he used to have, and it's all on purpose? I did notice they say the book is by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Colors in small letters down at the bottom by Jacob Phillips. I do appreciate or do like the books where they just put the colorist up with everyone else, particularly in these kind of books where the color is really good. You know, you don't see the colorist Bill Crabtree on the cover of Berserker in smaller letters and not being listed as an author. Yeah, and on the inside, he's not on the top, but it's not in smaller letters or anything like that. And then I also got this much hyped book, Monsters, by Barry Windsor Smith. It's beautiful. It's a Fantagraphics book. They always make nice books, and I just love the feel of this cover. And, of course, it's still kind of cracking, but it's got a really good binding and everything. And for such a big book, list price of $40, really nice. But, you know, I love old Barry Windsor Smith stuff so much. Just flipping through it, I'm not immediately in love with the artwork, so I'm getting a little nervous to read it. What if, after all the hype and all my love for Barry Windsor Smith, what if I don't love this comic? But that may, I can't help that. And maybe I'll be wrong. I do notice just a lot of people standing around and talking. And 360 pages of a lot of people standing around talking. Anyway, hopefully my reluctance is wrong. But thanks for joining me. I enjoyed filming it this way. We'll see how I feel after I've edited it all together. I may be totally cursing doing this. Don't know if I'll ever do it this way again or if this will become a regular thing. But catch you all later. Enjoy your comic books this week.